Everyone. My name is Tom Carvelli from Greenway Mortgage, and I'm coming to you with another conversation with our industry partners where we discuss how the pandemic is affecting the mortgage industry and how we are adapting to provide service to our clients. If you're considering or in the process of buying or selling a home or refinancing your current mortgage, this is a video you should watch. Today, I'm joined by Mark Trimmer. Mark is the owner of Max Vantage Appraisal Management Company and York Realty Services. He has over 30 years in services to the lending industry. He covers the East Coast from Massachusetts to Florida, specializes in complex high-value properties. Clients include regional and national lenders, banks, credit unions, and mortgage companies. Hi, Mark.
Tom, how are you?
Thank you for taking the time today.
You're welcome.
How are you?
Good, good.
You know, today's April 21st. We're obviously many weeks into the COVID pandemic in the U.S., and I think that many people have probably COVID fatigue at this point. But I think it was important to get out to people what's going on with appraisals as far as the mortgage process goes. And so I wanted to get an idea of how the appraisal industry is adapting to this crisis, given that, you know, appraisals typically require a stranger to enter a property owner's home. Before that, though, I was hoping you can give a high-level view of the appraisal business and how it operates under normal circumstances. Then we can dive into sort of what's going on in the current environment.
So the traditional appraisal process has not changed much over the last 20 years. The typical mortgage loan requires a full interior appraisal. Most people understand what that's all about. It involves the appraiser coming to the house, walking through the house, pulling comparable sales, generating an appraisal report that conforms with Fannie, Freddie, secondary market appraisal guidelines. It's been that way for a while. Everybody seems to understand what it's all about. Homeowners, realtors, everyone's on the same page. Access to homes was not a problem. So not really a whole lot to talk about there. What there is to talk about now is where are we now in the COVID environment? And things have changed. Both homeowners as well as appraisers have been reluctant to go into properties. I guess in conformance with the government guidelines of separation, there's just been a lot of reluctance, and that has forced the mortgage industry, particularly the governmental agencies, to make changes to their appraisal guidelines. So in certain types of loans with certain types of loan to values, they are allowing only exterior inspections to be done to eliminate that face-to-face contact. That's very specific to particular loan types, particular loan amounts, et cetera, for which you probably are better able to speak to that than I am. We get the orders and we're able to get them completed. But what that has done, the government stepping in and saying, okay, we'll relax our appraisal requirements, that's allowed the mortgage process to continue in this, you know, kind of scary environment that we're living in right now. And without that relief, it really would have come to a grinding halt. And that's where we are. So we've adapted to that. You as mortgage companies and lenders have adapted to it. And, you know, the process is moving along now.
The most important thing that's on everyone's mind is, you know, what is being done to protect the health and safety of both the appraiser and the property owner when they do actually have to go into the property and do an appraisal. Like what sorts of things are are being leveraged for that?
So that starts off with the initial phone call contact between the appraiser and whoever is allowing access, whether it be a property manager, a homeowner, or a realtor. The appraiser will show up at the property with gloves and a mask, taking proper precautions. The homeowners typically do the same. And in that initial conversation, we instruct our appraisers to help the homeowner or the realtor through the process of making sure that all the doors in the property are open so that the appraiser does not have to touch anything. They can make their way through the property with the gloves, with the mask, without touching, without leaving any footprints. Some homeowners will ask for the appraiser to remove their shoes. They cooperate with that. We all understand what the circumstance is. And I think the one thing that's probably changed a little bit is typically the appraiser would stop, chat, ask questions of the realtor or the homeowner. And now it's pretty much in and out. But really the goal is to gather the data, get in and get out, to avoid the uncomfortableness that we all feel when we're in close proximity to someone.
A prolonged person-to-person contact.
Correct.
It's what everybody's trying to avoid.
That's correct.
Yeah. So okay, so that's good. I'm glad to hear that that those sorts of things are going on. Do you see any long-term innovations that may occur with appraisals and home valuation for the long term?
Sure. Again, the governmental agencies, Fannie, Freddie, and FHA, have all developed digitized appraisal formats. All the appraisals are now converted digitally and get uploaded into their databases. They've been collecting this data now for 3 to 5 years, and they have a massive database of data on individual houses. And those databases allow those agencies, again, I'll repeat them constantly here, Fannie, Freddie, and FHA, it allowed them to do a much better job of analysis of the accuracy of the appraisal. They have all the closed sales that have been reported through their systems. So their underwriting runs through that system and allows them to judge or grade the appraisal report relative to their own massive database. And that's good and bad. The good part is if your appraiser has done a good job, it's going to get a very good score, and that's going to really speed the underwriting and approval process. And likewise, if there's some questions that have come up, appraiser hasn't used a sale or two, that can slow things down a little bit, but the appraiser still has the opportunity to analyze those sales that they may not have used, and get it squared away with the automated underwriting systems. So that's been the biggest single enhancement in the appraisal world, the massive collection of housing data and comparable sales data, and it's really giving the lenders, the ultimate lenders, the investors, a much better comfort level with the data that they're working on.
And so is that why this is, I guess, more of a question of for you to render your opinion on, is that database what's really allowing those entities, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, to consider exterior only appraisals?
Yeah, but beyond that, they actually now there are very, very many mortgage loans that do not require appraisals.
Appraisal waivers, yeah.
Right, appraisal waivers. So, I mean, that percentage is 20-30% of all loans no longer require appraisals. I don't have the background, the detail on how they develop the waiver process and how it works, but it's sped up the mortgage process significantly.
Yes, it sure has. And also it's a savings to the borrower if we do get them. Any sort of turn times impacted with what's going on with the pandemic as far as appraisal turn times and getting them through your system and over to the lender?
Yeah, initially there was a major backlog when we came into the initial really period of fear when everything was so uncertain, and people didn't allow the appraisers in. And as I said before, the appraisers didn't want to go in. So we had fewer appraisers in the field being able to complete them. And that's all part of the process of when the secondary market, Fannie Freddie, made these decisions to allow exterior only. And that backlog has been cleaned out. And we're now operating on very regular order flow, turn time. Turn time can be as quick as 2 or 3 days, or as long as 7 or 8, just depending upon individual circumstances.
Right. Well, I think we covered like all of the things that I wanted to hit in here. Is there anything else that we should be talking about, or that you think might be interesting for clients or prospective buyers?
Well, the appraisal world's interesting to a certain group of people, but it's kind of limited group. But no, I mean, as always, sellers should prepare their house for the appraisal in terms of condition, having a good appearance, eliminate any objections, and other than that, that's the only advice that we ever give.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously when you send appraisals over to us, our underwriters actually look through them and call things out on occasion. And the pictures can be damning sometimes.
They can.
Yeah, and so that's a very important point that people, and it's also the seller's house at the time, like in a purchase transaction, not in a refi transaction, but in a purchase transaction, it's actually the people selling the home, not the people buying the home, that need to do the preparing of the property. But hopefully their realtor, the listing agent, is sort of giving them some coaching on how to prepare, just like they would have when they took pictures for listing their property on the MLS. But
really, the whole process is incumbent upon all the parties, the realtors, the appraisers, the homeowners, to make sure the property's adequately prepared for, make sure everybody knows the appraiser's coming, and to have it look as good as possible. Because one little innocuous picture can turn into a week-long delay in getting something fixed or taken care of.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time today. I do appreciate it. And
very good.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Thanks again, Mark.
Take care.